For me, I prefer to do this one with UV resin. There are other ways you can do it for sure with the material, but I'm going to just start out this time without thread because we're just going to start out and we're going to build up just a little bit of a resin, kind of a body before we start with any of our thread. And with an ant, I'm going to want the back end to be a little bit larger than what I want the front end. And of course, I want that space in between. So you can see I'm kind of doing this one layer on top of the other layer. If you try to put a great big glom of UV resin on here, it's just going to drip off and make a huge mess. Which is exactly what I have done several times. So I'm speaking from experience. And we're getting closer. This back end, like I said, teardrop shaped, a little bit larger than what we're going to put on the front end. And you have control over that because you have control over how much resin you're putting on here. And if you didn't know, you do now, you can get resin in different colors. So I'm getting pretty close there. I don't want it too much bigger than that on the back end here. And that's probably all I'm going to do on the front. So I've got that nice ant profile. I'm just going to use a nice black 14-aught shear. I don't want much build up here. I want to keep those defined segments of this ant. So I'm just going to get it nice and attached there and grab my scissors and go ahead and clip that off. So for the post, I'm just going to use some white McFlylon. Kind of comes in a pack, it looks like that, and I've stripped some off that's about the right size. I'm just going to double this over my thread here. It doesn't have to be exactly even on the top because we will be cutting this off. I want to keep that in the center as well. I'm going to take a few thread wraps on one side of it and a few thread wraps right at the very base as well. So we've got it on there like that. Now I'm going to start working on the post, and this is a little bit tricky for me, always is, but we'll see how we do. I'm going to hold that post straight up. And we're going to start taking turns around the post itself. You can see how I'm trying hard to kind of use my fingers here on both hands. I want to keep that post straight up right, so I'm holding it upright with my two of my fingers while trying to move this post down. All the way down till I get to that point where the post is going to be touching the shank of the hook. So you should end up with something like that. So for the hackle, I really like this. It's almost a copper color hackle. I've already got a strip, a little piece pulled off here. So we're going to go ahead and secure this to our hook. It's going to be the first thing that we do. So I'm just going to take a wrap over the top of it here. I'm going to take a wrap on the other side of it, and that's going to help us keep that at a nice 90-degree angle. From there I want to look at the height, because I want the first fibers of this hackle to start right at the very top of the post here. So once I've got it about where I want it there, we're going to now attach the hackle to our post. Just by taking wraps going back up the post like we did to start with, except this time we're basically securing our hackle feather to the post itself rather than to the shank of the hook. I'm going to get that all the way nice and tight all the way down to the base of that post, just about like that. Then I'm just going to take a couple of turns back on the hook shank. I'm going to get that stem kind of pointed out for me, like you can see it there. That's not going to go anywhere, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my vise here and grab my scissors, and we're going to cut off So with that all attached, I'm going to go ahead and grab my whip finisher, because we're going to reposition our thread. So I'm going to cut it off, so I want to get a nice whip finish in here just to make sure that it doesn't come unwound. I'm trying to do that as close to the base as possible so we can still keep those pronounced heads and the back end on this particular fly here. And loosen my vise. I'm going to take this entire fly and we're going to turn it so it's now going up and down. So basically perpendicular. As you can see. So now I've got the thread removed. I've got all that in place. Now I'm just going to restart my thread just like I would on the shank of the hook, except this time we're going to secure our thread to the post. Trying not to get everything kind of wrapped up into there. When I finish, the position that I'm going to want is for that thread to be right down at the very bottom, the base of that post, where it's touching the body. And from there I can turn my thread, turn my vise. Way too early in the morning for me to talk normally. Go ahead and clip that right off. Take my my vise, and turn it back to the direction that I want it. We're just going to work on taking some touching wraps of our hackle here. that's probably going to be right about where I want to stop that. So with my thread, I'm just going to do the best I can not to trap any of these fibers. By kind of working its way around the head as well as the back end. I'll take a wrap on the other side as well. Doing the same thing, just kind of trying to sneak it right around the body. With that, I should be able to let my thread just kind of dangle there. We'll come on in with our scissors. And I want to cut that stem off right where it is attached to the base of the post. About like that. I will have a little bit of cleanup to do here, but not a tremendous amount, hopefully. We're going to whip finish this right in this position, just like we just finished with our thread. I want to be sneaking it around. Both the front end and the back end, trying to keep it as close as I can to the base while trying to avoid trapping as many fibers as I can avoid trapping. With that, I'm going to go ahead and release. Make that about as pronounced as I can against the bottom. I'm just going to sneak in here with the cutter that's on the back end of my whip finisher. And we're going to go ahead and release. Once I've got that released, I'm just going to hold this by the post. I'm going to loosen my vise one more time. This time we're going to stand it straight back up again. And for your post, just kind of cut it to whatever you like it to be. Again, this post is just kind of a spot for you to be able to spot this on the water a little bit better. So I'm just going to cut mine off just like that. And with that, there you go. Really nice parachute ant pattern. If you want to fish an ant and you can't see, kind of like me, even in my younger days, I'd have a hard time spotting the dry flies on the water. Sometimes that parachute's really going to help out. Grab yourself a hook, some black resin, a couple of other things. Have some fun.